Right, thank you. Thank you. Now we conclude, we're done with the GEMS matter, which would have been the last one. And therefore, Ms. Ibrahim has then drawn our attention as this committee to an important task of this committee. You know, having traveled this entire journey and today having considered this draft report and made the kind of decisions that we have made on each of the charges or sub-charges, whether in this area to exonerate, whether in this area to sustain what is misconduct or incompetence. And therefore the question that I'm inviting members to deliberate on, to respond to, is what advice, having done this work, having just gone through this in the manner we did, based on the evidence that we have, and in certain areas with no evidence, and the kind of decision we have taken, what are you advising the National Assembly to do in relation to the actual task of this committee? The removal or no removal? I invite members to deliberate and throw their ideas and contributions. Content advisors, as well as the legal advisor, are here. Will record those issues, and that will form part of our conclusion and recommendations. Thank you. Do I have any first taker? Honorable Lawthrit.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, I think, as you say, we have gone through a long process, I believe a very thorough process, and we have examined all the charges that were brought. We listened to the evidence. We have deliberated on that. Today we are dealing with our report, and based on our findings as a committee, in terms of misconduct, incompetence, I do think that at this point, the committee should go forward and propose and recommend to the National Assembly that the Public Protector be removed from office. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Lawthrit. I now invite the next hand, if I have. You suggest that Honorable Maneli, that the Public Protector be removed from the office based on our evidence, our findings, and the work that we have done. Honorable Maneli.
No, thank you, Chair. In relation to the findings and the report as it has been presented, the matters of misconduct and incompetence are sustained, which would have been the basis for a removal. Therefore, that removal is recommended. And I'm using the recommended, Chair, because we are still also going to give the Public Protector an opportunity to comment on our report and elect to comment or not comment, in which case our report will then stand, Chair. So I just thought I should just emphasize that point so that we are open to consideration if there are comments that are to be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Maneli. Honorable Nkosi.
Thanks, Chair. I agree with the previous speakers that after having considered all evidence and presented to the committee, we do find that there's misconduct and incompetence, and recommend removal on that basis. I just want to add that we exonerate in relation to all those issues that are in the report, that exonerate them. And that the report be forwarded to her for comment before it is brought back to the committee for finalization.
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi. Honorable Tlakude.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. With the evidence before the committee with regard to misconduct and incompetence, Honorable Chair, I will want to join my colleagues that we recommend for the removal, with a view that we are still going to hear from the PP's reaction to this draft report. So that's my take, Honorable Chair. That recommendation will mean that based on her reaction to our report, then there is space or there is a chance for reconsidering based on what she would have put on her response to our report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tlakude, Honorable Siwela.
Chairperson, let me take this opportunity and join my colleagues that the evidence before us mandate us to arrive to that particular decision of removal. So I'm in support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Siwela. Honorable Ngola.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, we would have indicated in our first meeting of the committee, even before evidence was led, that even if we find in one charge evidence of misconduct and incompetence, that would mean that we'll recommend a removal. I think Ms. Abrahams is echoing the same sentiments the committee has agreed on in its first meeting. Check, given the evidence that has been led before the committee, it suggests that in many of the charges contained in the motion, the public protector would have misconducted herself and would have displayed high levels of incompetence. Therefore, I do join my colleagues in recommending a removal. We recommend that the public protector be removed. Of course, Chair, will give consideration after having sent the draft report to the public protector, if she elects to make representations in terms of the draft report. And of course, I agree with Honorable Maneli that even at the point where she elects not to make any representation in terms of the contents of our draft report, that would mean that she would be in agreement with the draft report and will table as it is in the National Assembly. So we agree that we must recommend to the National Assembly that Advocate Adv Mkhwebane, the Public Protector of South Africa, be removed from office. Thank you very much. In line with Section 194 of the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ngola. Honorable Sukas.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in light of the evidence before the committee and the conclusions that has been drawn by this committee, I support what was made by all my colleagues as well, that after the consideration of what will be put before us after this report, that this committee moves for the removal. I support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sukas. Honorable Mautwe.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it is clear that the report is, in our view, is premature, and it demonstrates the determination of you as the chair and the entire committee to move with the speed to impeach the public protector, regardless of the litany or procedural mishaps committed by the committee since inception. The hurried nature in which this report has been prepared, Chair, lays credence to the view held by the Public Protector that this is a frivolous political process meant to punish a person who is non-compliant with the dominant narrative which seeks to hold up the current head of state as a saint. Chair, apart from the many procedural own goals by yourself as the chair and the committee, the most important issue at the moment is that the PP has not had legal representation in the committee since the termination of the funding for her legal fees by the acting PP. And this dates back to as early as March this year. The acting PP's belated offering of 4 million has been mired in controversy, which has not allowed the legal protector space to have legal representation, the public protector. So the acting PP indicated that the PP must appoint her legal reps herself and manage the additional 4 million that the office of the PP made available as she wishes. I mean, this was unheard of, Chair, and it placed the PP in a very precarious position because she's here to account for her performance as the public protector and not as a private individual. Secondly, Chair, this committee railroaded the PP to have the state attorney as the attorneys of record. This was done despite the PP having raised concerns about the conflict of interest of the state attorney. This was disregarded by this very same committee, further exposing the PP to a state-sanctioned witch hunt, whose figurehead has always been the chairperson. When the PP finally managed to appoint Chinese attorneys, the committee refused to give them time to acquaint themselves with the record. So on what basis were these attorneys going to brief counsel if they themselves did not have an opportunity to study the record and get to know the cases? You said earlier that the PP should have briefed the counsel. It's not correct, Chair. It is the attorney that goes through the records and briefs counsel, of course, on the instruction of the PP. Now, Chair, Rule 129 AD requires that this committee must conduct its proceedings in a reasonable and procedurally fair manner. You can never claim that your conduct was reasonable or fair in the manner you have handled this. From the initial directives, Chair, that you issued yourself, right up to the end, the process has been grossly unfair to the PP. I mean, you can cite instances, Chair, but we don't want to spend the whole day here. So the findings in the report that the PP demonstrated incompetence in relation to the charges against her were therefore predetermined. This is the mandate that the chairperson and the evidence leaders were given, and these findings were made without affording the PP with their constitutionally enshrined rights to legal reps. So in conclusion, Chair, if the PP has to be impeached, that must be thorough and through a procedurally fair process. We say, let us give the legal reps of the PP time to get familiar with the record so that they can brief counsel properly. Why are we rushing to conclude this process? Because it will come back to bite this very same institution if we do so. The fact that the report mentions that the process will be moot after the term of this PP expires in October is proof enough that this process is no longer about justice, but about punishing an individual. Parliament can't be reduced to a tool for punishing individuals. Chair, let us give the legal reps of the PP the 1 month they need to get familiar with the record so that they can brief counsel. That's our position. Anything else that being suggested by the committee members, we reject it. And we reserve our rights to take this report on review because it looks like we're going to be beaten by numbers here. It's not factual. It's just numbers. A lot of people are saying this, and therefore we should take it even though we feel that is unfair to the individual. So if you continue in the manner that you're continuing, you are going to leave us with no option as the EFF but to take this matter on review. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mautwe. I now recognize Honorable Mailam.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, let me start by saying, firstly, that I agree with the recommendation and findings as presented by various other members of this committee. I also find it utterly bizarre that Honorable Maotwe should make the statements that she did given that you did not object to a single one of the findings on any of the charges that were presented. In other words, by not objecting
Chair,
to
on a
those
point of
charges,
order. Chair, on a point of order.
Yes, just a pause, Honorable Mailam. The pause, Honorable Maute, what's the point of order?
Why is this guy addressing me? Why is he addressing me? Does he have no point to speak? I spoke here. I never cited any of the people that spoke before me. So he comes here and he speaks about me because he's got nothing to say. The husband of the complainant. Firstly, he should have not been allowed to sit in this meeting. Chair, that's what makes this process even more flaws. So
Chair,
everybody who speaks here speaks through you, Chair. I don't think you appointed anyone to be a spokesperson to respond. Normally what you do at the end of the discussion and deliberations, you give your own views and attempt to respond to some of us. So why is he speaking about me?
Thank you, Honorable Maute. Your point of order, firstly, is not sustained because this is a matter of debate and contribution that you have now. Secondly, you know that members here are honorable members. We don't have a guy in this committee. And so I would want you to restrain and not to repeat that. And so I'm not.
No, but he behaved like a boy. We're going to call him a boy because that's exactly how he behaves, Chair. There's nothing honorable about mayhem here. Nothing.
Honorable Maute, I did not.
No, Chair, you're not going to do that to me. Don't do that.
Honorable Maute,
I've been listening here painfully throughout the day on all the nonsense that they've been saying, including him. I never said a word because I knew that the time was going to come for me to speak. Now he opens his big pink mouth and mentions me. I'm not going to allow that. This guy must withdraw, speaking about me.
Honorable Maute, I've asked you to step down, refrain from what you're doing, not sustaining your point of order. You continue to make unwarranted, unparliamentary comments, even when I'm asking you as a chair not to do that.
Because you're unfair yourself, Chair. No, you are unfair.
Honorable Maute, you are now disrespecting me as a presiding officer.
Protect me. That's all I'm asking you.
I'm not going to protect you. I'm going to have to enforce the rules on you. I'm not going to do that.
Chair, as long as you tell him not to mention me, I will keep
quiet.
I will keep my peace.
I did not invite you to speak.
No, but Chair, you're unfair. Everybody must speak through you. That is what I'm requesting you to do.
I did not even note you to speak, Honorable Maute. I want you to stop.
Yeah, but tell him to speak through you, not through me. If he talks about me, he's inviting me to respond.
Can you firstly let IT just mute her for now? Thank you. And I'm not going to repeat this. If she does, she'll repeat what she's doing. That point of order is not sustained. It's a frivolous point of order. And Honorable Mailam, I want to give you the platform.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, as I was saying, I find it actually bizarre that we could go through all the charges and not a single objection was raised at any point by Honorable Maotwe or anyone for that matter to the findings that we had made throughout this report.
On a point of order.
And then...
on a point of order.
Honorable Maotwe, what is the point of order?
Can you call this person to stop calling my name, please?
Sorry,
He must make his point. He must make his point and leave me alone. I'm at peace here. I'm not bothering anyone. Can I not be bothered?
You're not going to repeat what you're doing, Honorable Maotwe. I've already
addressed that. You. Okay, it's in the
rules. I've made a ruling.
We speak through you. Don't
you are not parliamentary.
Part of the DA here. Please, you're not. This is not a meeting of the DA.
Please mute her again.
This is not that meeting.
Please mute her again.
If you
again for the last time, please mute her again for the last time.
Okay, if you continue speaking about me.
Honorable Mailam, please continue.
When I may don't talk about me when. You
Chairperson.
Go ahead, Honorable Mailam.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So as I was saying, it's actually bizarre that there's no objection to the merits of the matter. But when we come to the recommendation, at that point, Honorable Maotwe then decides that the matter is now up for debate. And I find that bizarre because as a committee, we have gone through this.
I'm not a DA member, and I don't take instructions from you. What bizarre? Did you have a caucus of how we must?
Go ahead, Honorable Myla.
We've gone through this. We've gone through this evidence very carefully.
What protects you is the color of your skin, nothing else. Nothing. You're not making any point. Nothing.
Continue to mute, Honorable Minister Ngoma.
Thank you, Chair. We've gone through this evidence very carefully, very thoroughly over an extended period of time, and the committee has made its findings and its recommendations based on evidence. To now say that the process that we have undertaken or the steps that we have followed have been a witch hunt, I think is absolutely unsubstantiated. So that's my first point. My second is this, Chair. During the course of this hearing, there were threats made on your person by Advocate Mkhwebane. And I believe that this committee has a duty in its recommendations to firstly refer those threats to the Legal Practices Council for investigation into conduct unbecoming by Advocate Mkhwebane, and secondly, to take the necessary action, which I believe is criminal action, in terms of the Powers and Privileges Act, where a member of Parliament is threatened in the course of his or her duties. So, Chair, I would ask that those be included in the recommendations of this committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Myla. I now recognize the last two hands with second bite.
Chair.
It will be Honorable Mautwe, followed
Yes.
by Honorable Maneli as your second bite to contribute. Over to you, Honorable Mautwe.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I understand when you say it's our point for debate, but it's definitely the point where we now talk to each other. Honorable Malem was extremely out of order, and I don't understand why I didn't call him. Throughout the whole process, Chair, we've always been talking through you. There's been so many things that I said that you don't agree with. Now, for him to come here and tell me that I've been quiet the whole day, how can I participate in a process that I'm saying is flawed? It's procedurally unfair. I said that in the morning. Where was he? He was not listening. He just comes here because we're at the end and we're not in agreement with him. And therefore, I should have spoken for each and every point. We deliberately kept quiet, Chair, because we said from the beginning of this meeting today that the PP does not have a legal rep. So why must we participate in this process? I'm registering our objection to the report now because I want it in record. And Chair, you should have called Malem to order because he's mayhem like that. And we for as long as he talks, he calls my name. I've got the right to defend myself and I've got the right to speak and protect in the absence of your protection as the chairperson. So everything that we've said stays, and we don't agree with him saying that we must take Advocate Ndali. He must go and study law himself and stop hiding behind being a husband of a matriculant. He must go to school and practice and be an attorney and be an advocate, and then he can come and challenge all those things. For now, he's just an honorable member who's not even honorable of anything. We reject this report, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mautwe. Your points have been noted.